Okay. Today we will check what are the other tests we can write in Postman. So in yesterday's class, we just verified the status codes for all the requests, but today we will kind of go into validation of the values which we see in the JSON. So let's say if I'm hitting a get request, then whatever the response I'm getting, so it has various values like email is janet.weaver@request response.in. So first name, last name. So these things basically we have to verify. And for that, we will write the tests in Postman, and we will have to get the JSON path of these particular key so that we can use them into our scripts. So that we will see for today. And there are some sample scripts which we will use for writing the tests in Postman. So I will share these things as well. And then we will also see how we can go ahead and execute the collection via the command line or via the command prompt, how we can just trigger the collections from that part. So as of now, we are triggering everything from Postman, right? But there are certain situations where we will have to trigger these collections from the command prompt of our system. So we will have to look into that particular steps. And then if time permits, we will see how we can use the reporting in Postman. So as of now, what we are doing is that we are preparing something, the report in the form of Excel. But there is a feature to generate reports in Postman. So for that, we will have to use HTML extra report. So we can also have a look at that, how to get these particular reports and how we can see the look and feel of the report generated. So these are the few topics which we can aim to cover for today. So let's get started with the topics. So, okay. So here are the, just let me put this down. Okay, yeah. So this is the collection which we created in last class, and we had these particular 4 requests to trigger. So now let's say if we are triggering the get request, then here we already wrote the script for verifying the status code, right? So similarly, now we will go ahead and verify these particular values as well, because if we go to the Excel and we can see over here that in the expected outcome, we need to verify that the whatever the data that was fetched from the server is valid. So in that, earlier we were kind of doing these things manually, looking at the response data and then filling up the Excel. But now we should write scripts so that Postman automatically verifies these particular data, and we don't have to go there manually and check it. So for that, I will just write down a script, and then we can have a look at what that particular script says in detail. So here I have a kind of a script which can be used in that case. I will just paste it over here, and we will go through each and every line. Using these lines of code, the task will get done. So basically what is happening in this case is that this body data is a variable which is kind of storing all the response, whatever we are getting from the server. So whenever we are hitting this get request, we are getting a lot of things in the response body. So all these JSON format is the response. And what this line says, like body data equals JSON.parse response body. So this is a JavaScript annotation, and whatever the response body is getting returned in this request, it's getting assigned to this particular variable. I have named it as a body data. You can take any name. So this is just a variable, and it contains all the response body. So all the response data or the JSON data will get stored in this body data. And here is the script, which is a Java script, and this will kind of help to validate any particular value from the JSON body. So can just see that this is a function, and here you can basically put any name, like I will just write down verification of, let's check what the response data is providing us. So we have ID, we have email, first name, last name. So let's say if we want to verify the email, in that case, let me just take the name as verification of email. And let's say this is test case 1. Okay. And here we have the function which is started, and what it says, the Postman function dot to expect body data from this particular variable. It's going and it's getting the first name. So this is a JSON path, and how we I got this particular path is I will just show you. So you can just copy all the response data which we are getting, and we need to get the JSON path of this. So I will just write down the steps to verify any value in JSON response. So let's say step 1, get the JSON path of value. So first thing, we will have to get what is the JSON path of email, because we want to validate that email should be this particular value. So for that, just copy all the response, just copy it, and we have a tool which is called JSON Pathfinder. This is an online tool, open license. We don't require any license or those things. We can just use it. And here you have to just kind of paste all the response body which we are getting. So I will just copy all these things and paste it over here. And here you can see that it basically got all the paths. So you can expand these particular arrows and see like email. So if we click on email, it will give the path like x dot data dot. So from here, just take the data and email. So ignore this particular x, just take data and email and copy it. So this is the JSON path from where we can get those values. And that is what is written over here. So basically it means from the body data or from the response, just go and get these particular path, data and email. So when we track to this path, then this particular value can be fetched, and it's kind of a fetching this value, and this is a function to compare that dot to equal, and this is the expected thing which should be there. So let's say if we are verifying the email, then this is the email which is coming in the response body. We can just copy it and we can just provide it over here. So based on your test script, you can just provide the email, and if the response body is having that particular email, then this particular script will get passed, and just we can go ahead and trigger the script, and now see, we can check the test result. So this is verification of test case 1, and it's showing as a pass, because the reason being this script kind of scanned whole response body, and it took out the email part, and then it checked whether it's equal to this particular value or not, and it was the same. So this script passed. And if I just make it something else, like I just put it Janet, then this should fail, because now it's throwing a assertion error, because this is the expected and what we have provided is Janet. So this is one of the things by which we can basically assert any value in the response body. So let me correct it. So you can you can have these scripts handy. No need to kind of go through to learn these things, or to no need to kind of remember these things. You just need to know what each function is doing, and when you test your application, you can just amend as per your requirement, and it will execute as expected. So are we clear for this particular flow, how we are kind of extracting the value from the JSON and verifying it via Postman?
Yes, sir.
So
It's clear.
now I think we should, I will also write some more tests. So let's call this as verifying the status code as test case 1. This is the test to validate status code for getting user detail, and let's name it as test case 01. Okay. And verification of email, let it be test case 02. And similarly, we can also verify the first name, last name, and those things. So for that, we just have to kind of copy these steps and just just tweak some information, like verification of this time we are going to verify the first name. Let's say verification of first name, and let's say this is test case number 3. And here we again have to go to the JSON path. What is the JSON path for first name? So for that, you can go to this tool, go to the first name, and you can just grab this particular thing and just change over here. So now from the body data, this is the variable which we already defined. It's going to data.firstname. So as per the response, it's going to get Janet there. And just we have to replace the expected value, and this should be equal to Janet. So this is one test. And then similarly, we can have a test for last name. Similarly, copy all the scripts and then verification of last name. And we can say this is test case 4. And again, we have to get the path for the last name. And this is the path. Just change over here. And the last name should be Weaver. Okay. So these are the 4 tests which we have prepared in Postman. Now let's try to run it, and we will check whether the tests are getting passed or failed. So now you can see that we will have it's showing 4 by 4, means it's showing that there are 4 test cases in this particular API, and all are kind of getting passed. So this is some basic level of scripting which we use in the APIs. So now what we did is that now whenever we are testing this particular test case, now there is no need to kind of go back, right? Go back in Postman and check what is the response body manually and enter the values. So now you just have to run the test case and just verify whether the tests are getting passed or failed. So this is what we can achieve when we do the scripting part in Postman. So it reduces a lot of effort. It's a one-time activity, and you can just quickly provide the test results of your APIs. So similarly, we will go ahead and write the scripts for post. So let's check what is there in post. We have a body, and I think we have written some test for status code validation. So let's see what additional things are there. Okay, so once we are hitting the post, we are getting the name, job, ID, and this particular field that it's created on this date. So we can go ahead and write the scripts for this as well. So let me just use it. So it's a very means you can reuse the scripts again and again. So we can just copy this particular script and we can go ahead and paste it over here. And let's say this time I change the variable name. So let's post body data. So this variable will store all the response, whatever we are getting. So these stored in this variable, and now we just have to extract the values out of that particular variable. So let's say let's rename it to test case 1 for post. This is just to validate status code. Okay, and let's name it as test case 1. And here what we will do is that verification of name, and let's say this is test case 2, and pm.expect body data. So here we have to change these things. So now it's not body data, we have stored it in this variable naming post body data. So just take it over here, and we have to get the right JSON path for this. So similarly, copy this entire thing. Now we will go to the JSON path finder, remove it, and now paste this. So here it gave all the things. So we just want the name first. So just click here and you will get something like this. Just copy this part and modify it in your script. So now from this particular response, we are just fetching the name value and it should be equal to test1. So just remove this, paste this. So now our test2 is ready and we will just check if it's running fine. And yes, we can. So the test2 is running as expected. And similarly, we can create other tests over here. So let's verify the job, verification of job. Let's say test3, and what is the path for job? It's just dot job. So here we will use dot job, and the job should be equal to tester. Okay. So this is one test. And again, we have the ID. So let's leave the ID for now. And we can also verify this particular statement, like it's created at this particular date. So here we have to use a script and we have to partially verify this date. Reason being, this is the current timestamp, and we can go ahead and verify this created at with a date, like with this particular value. We can partially verify this value, and if it's coming, then we can go ahead and pass this script. So I will just write a script for that. So this is the test for partial verification. We can write that to verify creation date. Let's say this is test case 4. Okay. And here we have to change these things, like response data, we have to modify to post body data. And we have a field created at. So this is also, we can get it from the Pathfinder. So from here, we got this path. Created at. And then we have to include. So in earlier test, it was to equal. So if there is something called to equal, so this will try to match with this exactly. So this particular value, whatever it is coming, it should match exactly with tester if the function is to dot equal. But if the function is to dot include, so in that case, this test will verify that this particular value should be present in the response. Means partially it is kind of a verifying the results partially. So that is why we have this particular value to include this particular date. And let's check over here. So what's the date? Oh, I will just use today's date. And now let's trigger the whole API. So yeah, you can see that all the 4 tests are getting passed. The status code, verification of name, job, and the creation date. So this is a slight modification in the test. So here we are not using to equal, because if we use to equal in this case, then it will not work. So let me show you. You can see that it is failed. The reason being, assertion error, expected is this and to equal this. So if we are using to equal, we have to use the entire thing. But here we have a timestamp. So this will change every time we will kind of hit the API. So it's better to verify till this part and exclude this one. And for that reason, we are using to include. And now it will pass. Okay. So are we also clear for this? What is the use of to include and what is the use of to equal? Why how these two are different from each other? So in some cases, like when you will do the API testing, so we will have something like the timestamp and the date. So in that case, we have to just verify the date and we have to exclude the timestamp. In that case, we can just use this particular method, dot to dot include, and provide the date, and it will just verify the date and the test can get executed. So we have written the test scripts for post. Now let's write for put. So let's check. We have the script ready for status code, updating a user. Let's say this is test case 1. And now here we have to verify name, job, and the updated date. So the same thing, like we can just copy the scripts from here and just use them. Okay. This variable will hold all the response body. And now verification of name, let it be test case 2. And again, we have to get the JSON path. For that, again, go back here and just paste the response body. And let's say for name, it's dot name. Okay, it's dot name and it should be equal to test2. Okay. Similarly, for job, it should be QA. And the last thing, updated at, it should be. So this is updated at. Just make it as updated at and This is the date, so we can just use to include over here. And let's see if these tests are running for put. So yeah, so these tests are executing as expected for put case. And for delete, there is nothing in the response body, so we can just verify the status code over here. So let's say this is test case 1 for deletion. So this is how we kind of return all the scripts for the APIs. So now if we go ahead and run the collection, so we will have all these test cases executed, and we don't have to manually check anything in the APIs. So let's say, okay, so we have to first save all the changes which we have made. So now the changes are saved, and now we can run the collection and fetch the results. So right, we need all the APIs, and let's say the iteration as 1. Let's put a delay of 10 millisecond and just run the APIs. So now you can see that all the collection got executed, and here we have all the results logged. So for the first request, there were 1, 2, 3, 4 test cases. So the validation passed and all the test cases passed over here. The same thing is there for all the other requests as well. And if you go for summary, then here we have a consolidated report of all the execution which happened. So this is the topic, like how we kind of went from checking each thing manually in Excel, and now we have kind of written the test script. So now we just have to run the collection, and all the things will get executed as expected, and we can just now focus on the reporting part and deliver it to the client whenever they want the reports. So is this part clear, like how we executed these particular scripts, and how we kind of wrote the scripts, and how we went ahead and used the JSON Pathfinder to extract the values of each JSON path, and how we wrote the script? So are these things clear up till now? So is it making sense, like how we are running the scripts and how we kind of formulated these scripts? You don't have to kind of learn these things or remember these things. Just you should know how we got the basically the JSON path of the values, and what is the what this statement means, like dot response to have status, and if we are getting something from the response body, then how we are validating it with these exact values. So if you know these things, then it's kind of a very easy for your APIs to, you can just write the scripts there and execute it. So when you will kind of practice it on your Postman tool, then you will have a better understanding of these particular things, and you can easily draft the test cases.
Okay, Avinash.
Okay, and in case you have any doubts, you can just reach me out, right? Regarding the Postman setup, or regarding the how we write the scripts. If you are facing